The courtship of galaxies burned behind the cold glass walls of the tribunal. Stars shimmered like silent witnesses, watching as the sentence was read aloud. The alien judges, tall, luminous beings of the ardent dominion, had already decided. The widow stood there, her silver eyes hollow, her wrists bound by light. She had defied her empire. She had saved a human. Now her punishment was to live among them. "Exile to the human world," said the High Arbiter, his voice like breaking metal. "Let her understand the species she betrayed us for. Let her decay among them." The widow didn't plead. She simply bowed her head. Her name was Varen, last of her house, once a warrior of the Dominion fleets. She had watched her husband die in the war against humanity, a war the Dominion should have won easily. But they didn't. The humans were unpredictable. They didn't surrender when reason demanded it. They built victory out of desperation. That fascinated her once. Now it had cost her everything. She was placed in a stasis pod and launched toward a small blue planet, Earth. The humans called it home. To the Dominion, it was a scar. To Varen, it was a sentence. When she awoke, the air felt thick, heavy, alive. Gravity pulled at her in strange ways. Her strength, once enough to crush steel, felt dulled. And waiting for her on the landing field was a man in a worn flight jacket, leaning against a truck. He wasn't a soldier. Not anymore. His name was Elias Ward, a retired combat pilot who had seen too much of the stars to trust their beauty. His left arm was mechanical. His right eye carried a faint scar, a reminder of the war that had taken millions. When the shuttle's hatch opened and the alien stepped out, every muscle in his body tensed. "Guess they really meant it," he muttered. "They sent one of you to live here." She didn't answer. Her translator flickered on, her voice cold but steady. "I am Varen. I am here to serve my sentence." Elias studied her, the faint glow under her skin, the rigid posture, the pain behind the calm. He should have hated her. She was part of the war that nearly broke Earth. But instead, he saw something different. She wasn't proud. She wasn't defiant. She looked lost. He turned toward the truck. "Get in. We've got rules here. You follow them, and we don't have a problem." The ride was silent. Outside, rain traced thin lines down the windshield as city lights blurred past. The world she had once called primitive now felt more alive than the sterile palaces of her empire. She watched humans laugh on sidewalks, argue, share umbrellas. They looked fragile, yet unbroken. At one point, Elias glanced sideways. "You don't talk much, do you?" "I used to," she said quietly. Then the people I loved stopped listening. He didn't answer. But for the first time, his expression softened. When they reached his home, an old farmhouse outside the city, Elias parked and motioned to the barn. "That's where you'll stay. You can use the main house for meals. Don't go near the comms tower." "Understood." That night, while rain drummed on the roof, Varen sat alone by a window. She could see the stars faintly through the storm, the same stars that had judged her. But now, from this small world, they looked different. Quieter, distant, almost merciful. And as the thunder rolled over the fields, Elias stood on his porch, watching her silhouette through the rain. He didn't know why, but something deep inside him whispered that this wasn't just punishment for her. It was the beginning of something neither of them, nor the Dominion itself, could ever undo. The first few days passed like a strange dream neither of them could wake from. Elias treated her like a guest he never asked for. Varen behaved like a prisoner who refused to complain. Their conversations were short, sharp, and carefully measured, like two soldiers still testing the range of each other's weapons. She spent most of her time in the barn, surrounded by machines she didn't understand. Old Earth technology, loud and crude, yet strangely honest. She found comfort in the hum of engines and the smell of oil. Sometimes she would trace her fingers over the metal, whispering in her own language. The machines didn't respond, but it felt like they listened. Elias, meanwhile, tried to ignore her presence. He'd survived alien fire, lost half his squadron, and buried the love of his life. He didn't have the strength left for sympathy. Still, something about her unsettled him. The way she stood outside at night, staring at the sky like it was both home and grave. The way her hands trembled when thunder echoed through the fields. One evening, as he fixed his truck under a flickering lamp, Varen appeared silently beside him. "You humans," she said softly, "still repair what should be replaced." He didn't look up. "And you aliens throw away what you don't understand." Her silver eyes flickered. Perhaps that is why we lost the war. That caught his attention. He met her gaze for the first time. You admit it? I was there when your ships burned through our fleets. When your captains sent messages filled with defiance instead of surrender. We thought you were mad. But you were something else. You fought like you had nothing left to lose. Elias wiped his hands on a rag. That's what survival looks like. Silence settled again, heavy but not hostile. Over the next few weeks, the awkward distance between them began to shift. She helped repair the old generator when the storms cut the power. She learned to cook human food, even though the taste made her wince. Elias began leaving the door to the house unlocked. Not an invitation, but a sign of trust. One night, he found her sitting on the porch, staring at the horizon. The stars were clearer than usual. Those are the same stars you came from, right? He asked. She nodded. Yes, but they no longer speak to me. What do you mean? In my world, the stars carried our commands, our laws, our history. Here, they're just lights. Silent, distant, maybe free. He leaned against the railing. You sound almost human. I was sentenced to become one, she said, and smiled for the first time. Small, uncertain, but real. Then, one night, everything changed. Elias woke to a sound, faint, metallic, wrong. He grabbed his sidearm and rushed outside. The barn door was open, and inside, Varen stood frozen, her hands glowing faint blue. Hovering in front of her was a drone, Dominion tech, sleek and deadly, its optics scanning her face. Stay back, she whispered. It's not here for you. The drone's voice crackled. Subject Varen, 9A, traitor to the Dominion. Your exile is revoked. Termination authorized. Elias fired before it finished. The bullet hit its casing, sparks flying. Varen shouted, pushing out her hand. A burst of energy exploded from her palm, ripping the drone apart. Metal shards rained down like ash. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Elias said quietly, You told me you were just here to serve your sentence. I was, she said, her voice trembling. But they never intended to let me live it out. He lowered his weapon slowly. Then I guess they'll have to go through me first. For the first time, she looked at him not with pity, not with curiosity, but with something close to belief. Outside, the storm began to rise again, lightning flashing across the sky. The widow's quiet exile was over. A different kind of war was coming, one born not of hatred, but of a promise neither of them yet understood. 3 nights had passed since the drone attack. The wreckage lay hidden beneath the barn, covered with tarp and silence. Elias had told no one, not even the local authorities. He knew what would happen if word spread. The government would come, and Varen would be taken apart in some lab before anyone decided whether she was human enough to keep alive. He'd seen it before. Humanity's curiosity could be colder than any alien's hatred. Varen, however, had changed since that night. The quiet stillness that once wrapped around her like armor had cracked. She moved faster now, always watching the skies. Sometimes he'd find her near the ridge, eyes glowing faintly, murmuring in her language, as if speaking to ghosts. One morning, Elias caught her near the comms tower, the very one he'd told her to stay away from. What the hell are you doing? He shouted, his voice cutting through the wind. Varen didn't turn. It's not what you think. I'm not contacting them. Then what are you doing? I'm listening. She pointed at the static-filled monitor. The Dominion's long-range signals. They've been scanning this region. The drone wasn't alone. More are coming. Elias felt the chill crawl down his spine. How soon? Days. Maybe less. They'll find the crash site. Then me. Then you. He exhaled slowly. Then we better make it hard for them. Together, they buried the remaining drone parts deeper, replaced the soil, and masked the metal signature using scrap from his old ship engines. Varen taught him how to disrupt Dominion sensors, a trick she'd learned while sabotaging her own fleet before her trial. He realized, for the first time, how much she must have risked. That night, as they ate in silence, Elias asked the question that had haunted him since the beginning. Why'd you do it? Why betray your people for us? Varen's gaze stayed fixed on the candle flame. Because my husband was not killed by you. He was killed by the lies of my own command. They told us humans were monsters, incapable of mercy. But when his ship fell near your outpost, your soldiers tried to save him. He died in a human medic's arms. And she cried for him. Elias blinked. A human medic? She recorded his last words. He thanked her. That recording reached me before the tribunal found out. It changed everything I believed in. The silence that followed felt like the breath before thunder. Suddenly, the power flickered. Then, a sharp, distant sound. A hum like a wasp's sting. Elias rushed to the window. 3 glowing streaks cut through the clouds, drop pods, descending fast. They found us, Varen whispered. He grabbed his rifle, his voice calm but cold. Then they're about to regret it. Outside, the pods slammed into the ground, hissing steam. Dominion enforcers stepped out, tall, armor-clad, their eyes like molten glass. They spoke in that sharp, unearthly tongue, weapons scanning the area. Elias aimed through the farmhouse window. They're spreading out, he muttered. Varen closed her eyes. They'll take me alive if they can. Dead if they must. Not happening. She looked at him, confusion flickering through fear. Why? You owe me nothing. He smirked. Maybe not. But you're on my land now. And humans don't give up what's ours. The first soldier stepped toward the barn, and Elias fired. The blast tore through armor and sent the alien crashing into the mud. Varen moved instantly, energy surging from her palms, striking the next. The night exploded with sound and light. Thunder, gunfire, and the alien hum of Dominion tech. 2 more enforcers fell. One managed to grab Varen, pinning her against the wall. Elias tackled him, his mechanical arm locking around the alien's throat until the armor cracked. When it was over, smoke rose from the field. Rain began to fall again, washing away the blood and dust. Elias dropped his rifle, breathing hard. That all of them? Varen shook her head slowly. No, these were scouts. The fleet will follow. He looked at the horizon, dark clouds swirling, lightning flashing across the sky. Then we're not running. She frowned. You can't fight a fleet. He smiled grimly. I don't have to win. I just have to make them remember why they lost the first war. And in that moment, beneath the storm, the widow and the human stood side by side. 2 enemies of the past, about to become something far more dangerous. Allies. The air carried a taste of ozone and ash the morning after the attack. Smoke drifted from the ridge, and the farmhouse looked like a relic from an old war, half-burned, but still standing. Elias patched the roof while Varen sifted through the wreckage of the Dominion tech, salvaging what she could. Neither spoke much. They didn't need to. Both knew what was coming. By midday, the news had already broken. Unknown meteor impacts near Kansas border. The government was pretending it was nothing. But Elias knew the silence before the storm. He'd seen it on battlefronts light years away. We can't stay here, Varen said, kneeling beside a half-melted armor plate. The Dominion will triangulate the last transmission. They'll send hunters next, not soldiers. Shadows in human form. He tossed her a canteen. Then we move before they arrive. But we don't run far. She looked at him, surprised. You still mean to fight them? Elias sat down beside her, his expression carved from stone. You said your people never understood how humans fought. Let me show you why. That night, they drove out to the desert, an old military scrapyard filled with the rusting bones of war machines. Forgotten mechs, grounded drones, fractured orbital launchers. All of it abandoned when peace treaties were signed. To Elias, it wasn't scrap. It was memory. He climbed out of the truck and smiled faintly. Welcome to my graveyard. Varen's eyes widened as she ran her hand along a dormant war mech. Human-made, crude yet powerful. You built this from nothing. No orbital foundries, no synthetic cores, just will. That's all we ever had, he said quietly. Will. They worked through the night. Elias reactivated old systems, while Varen infused them with Dominion circuitry scavenged from the fallen enforcers. Sparks danced in the dark as human steel merged with alien precision. The desert became a forge of rebellion. By dawn, one of the mechs groaned back to life, towering above the sand, its engines coughing out smoke. Varen watched in awe. You awaken monsters, she whispered. Elias climbed into the cockpit. No, I awaken reminders. As the sun rose, they tested the mech, slow steps at first, then full motion. Varen synchronized her energy field with the control systems, creating a bridge between their species' technologies. For the first time, they weren't enemies or captor and prisoner. They were engineers of survival. Later, resting by the campfire, Varen turned to him. When they come, they'll bring more than weapons. They'll bring fear. They'll show your people recordings of the First War, burn your skies, poison your trust. Elias poked the fire with a stick. Then we'll remind them who started that war. You didn't lose because we were stronger. You lost because you thought we were predictable. She gave a faint smile. And now, he met her gaze. Now they'll learn we've evolved. The night wind carried the hum of distant engines, faint, like thunder far away. Varen's eyes flashed silver. They're already in orbit. Elias didn't flinch. Good. Let them come. But before dawn, an unexpected visitor arrived. A sleek black shuttle descended silently, kicking up dust. Its hatch opened, revealing a woman in a gray flight suit, scars across her jaw, one eye replaced with chrome. She saluted sharply. Captain Elias Ward, she said. You always did attract trouble. Elias's face softened. Commander Rhea Sinclair. I thought you were dead. Close enough. She glanced at Varen, her hand hovering near her weapon. And I see you've made new friends. She's not the enemy, Elias said firmly. Not anymore. Rhea studied Varen for a long moment, then nodded. If the Dominion's back, we'll need all the help we can get. From the sky came another rumble, louder this time. Dropships breaking atmosphere. Varen rose slowly. They found us. Elias loaded his rifle and stepped toward the mech. Then this is where we make our stand. Rhea smirked. Still outnumbered, still stubborn. You humans never change. He climbed into the cockpit, the machine awakening with a roar. That's why we win. As the first wave of alien ships darkened the sunrise, lightning split the desert sky. The widow and the humans stood united, defying an empire with nothing but steel, scars, and will. The second war for Earth had begun. The sky bled fire at dawn. Dominion dropships descended in neat formation, silent, merciless, like a storm of steel wings. The desert wind howled through the scrapyard, carrying sand and the scent of fuel. Elias stood in the cockpit of the awakened mech, sensors flickering to life. Beside him, Varen calibrated her energy conduits, her pulse syncing with the machine's heart. Commander Rhea's voice crackled over the comms. 17 ships inbound. I count at least 40 ground units deploying. You sure you want to make your last stand here, Captain? Elias grinned grimly. Last stand? Nah. This is a welcome party. Rhea laughed dryly. Same old Elias. The Dominion forces hit the ground like thunder. Tall, armor-plated soldiers advanced through the haze, their weapons glowing with violet heat. Above them, smaller drones circled, fast and deadly, scanning for movement. Varen's voice was calm but low. They're deploying a resonance field. It will jam long-range comms and scramble your targeting. Then we do it the old-fashioned way, Elias said. See target. Shoot target. The first wave came hard. Plasma bolts tore through the sand, igniting what was left of the scrapyard. Elias moved the mech forward, each step shaking the ground. He raised the weapon, a hybrid cannon forged from human steel and alien tech, and fired. The blast ripped through the enemy line, vaporizing metal and flesh in a single flash. Rhea's squad emerged from the shadows, armored trucks mounted with railguns roaring to life. The sound was deafening. The smell of ozone filled the air. Varen channeled her energy through the mech's systems, weaving shimmering shields that absorbed plasma fire. Her body trembled with the strain. They're adapting. Their weapons are syncing with the atmosphere. Elias adjusted the output, pushing the mech beyond safety limits. Then we hit harder. He charged through the battlefield like a titan from a forgotten age, crushing enemy armor underfoot. Drones swarmed overhead, until Rhea's team launched EMP grenades, sending them spiraling into the sand. Varen screamed over the comms. Left flank, incoming heavy unit. Elias turned just as a massive Dominion walker emerged from the smoke. Towering, glowing with violet circuits, its limbs lined with plasma blades. Well, he muttered, that's new. The walker lunged. Elias met it head-on. Metal slammed against metal, the desert erupting beneath their feet. Sparks flew, fire burned, and thunder rolled above them. Varen poured every ounce of her strength into the mech's systems, amplifying its core. Elias roared. For every human you burned, this one's for them. He drove the mech's arm through the walker's chest, ripping out its glowing core. The explosion lit up the desert like a sunrise of vengeance. For a moment, it felt like victory. But then, the Dominion fleet opened fire from orbit. Beams of light streaked down, carving the earth apart. Ria's voice shouted through static. They're targeting the entire sector. We need to move. Varen clutched the console. They're not trying to win. They're trying to erase this place. And us. Elias's eyes hardened. Not today. He triggered the mech's self-defense systems, generating a shield dome powered by Varen's energy and the mech's last reserves. The ground shook violently as orbital beams struck the barrier, blindingly bright. Varen screamed in pain, blood trickling from her nose. Stop, Elias yelled. You'll kill yourself. Her voice broke. Better me than this world again. The barrier held, barely. When the bombardment ceased, silence fell over the scorched desert. The Dominion fleet pulled back, leaving only smoke and ruin. Ria approached the mech, covered in ash. We survived, but why'd they retreat? Varen looked up, trembling. Because they've seen what they feared most. Elias frowned. And what's that? She met his gaze. A human who refuses to die quietly. And an alien who no longer obeys. The wind swept through the burning dunes, carrying the scent of victory and dread. Above them, the Dominion ships regrouped, forming patterns across the sky, not retreating, but watching. Elias climbed down from the mech, exhaustion weighing on his every breath. They're not done. Varen nodded slowly. No, they're calling for their emperor. And somewhere beyond the stars, the Dominion's leader opened his eyes. Find her, he whispered, and kill the human who stands beside her. The war had just begun to breathe again. The night after the battle, the desert was silent except for the crackle of cooling metal and the distant cry of scavenger birds. The stars above burned colder than ever, too still, too bright, as if something vast and cruel was watching from beyond. Elias stood alone beside the battered mech. Its armor was scorched, its servos humming weakly. He ran a hand over the metal and exhaled. You did good, old friend, he muttered. The machine didn't answer, but somehow, he felt it listening. Inside the shelter, Varen rested on a cot, her body weak and trembling. The energy she'd used to block the orbital strike had nearly killed her. A faint blue light pulsed under her skin, fading each minute. Ria knelt beside her. She's burning out. Whatever's inside her, it's killing her. Elias stepped in, his jaw set. Then we find a way to stop it. Varen opened her eyes weakly. You can't. It's not sickness. It's connection. The Dominion's emperor. He's calling to me. Ria frowned. Calling? Like telepathy. Varen nodded. He created me. Not just as a soldier, but as a key. The room went still. Elias crossed his arms. A key to what? To the gate of origin, she whispered. A relic buried deep within your planet. The Dominion has searched for it for centuries. They exiled me here because I was bound to it. The Emperor knew one day I would lead him to it. Ria swore under her breath. You're saying Earth is sitting on some kind of ancient weapon? Varen's voice was barely a whisper. Not a weapon. A seed. The first fusion of human and Dominion energy. The birth of our shared evolution. It was hidden to prevent another extinction war. Elias clenched his fists. And he wants it back. Varen nodded, pain flickering across her face. If he unlocks it, your species won't just die. Mine will too. Everything will burn. Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon, but it wasn't a storm. The ground vibrated with a deep, rhythmic hum. Ria rushed out and froze. Descending through the clouds was a colossal ship, a Dominion dreadnought, larger than any human city. Its hull glowed with the mark of the Emperor, a black sun surrounded by golden veins of light. Elias stepped outside beside her. He's here. Varen staggered to her feet, her eyes glowing fiercely. He comes to claim what's his. But I won't kneel again. Moments later, the desert split open, a projection shimmered across the sand, towering and radiant. The Emperor appeared as a being of living energy, his voice echoing across the sky. Varen, my lost creation. You were meant to unite our species, not betray them. She glared up at him. You don't unite. You consume. The Emperor smiled faintly, his tone almost kind. And yet, look at what you've become. A bridge between two dying races. Give me the key, and I will end the suffering of both. Elias stepped forward. Your kind already tried ending things. We're still here. The Emperor turned his gaze to him, curious, almost amused. Ah, the human. The anomaly. You are the fire they spoke of. Unpredictable, defiant, doomed. Elias smirked. You talk too much for a god. The Emperor's expression darkened. Then burn with your world. A beam of light erupted from the sky, faster than thought. Elias dove, dragging Varen down as the ground exploded where they'd stood. Rhea shouted into her comms. All units, scatter. It's targeting the signal core. Varen pressed a hand to the dirt, her voice trembling. He's locking onto me. My energy signature is guiding him. Elias grabbed her shoulders. Then cut the link. I can't. He looked at the mech, then back at her. What if we overload it? Feed him a false signal strong enough to blind him. Rhea nodded. Like a decoy beacon. Risky as hell, but it might work. Varen's eyes widened. The mech's fusion core can't handle that surge. It will explode. Elias grinned faintly. Then let's make it count. They moved fast, wiring the mech's systems, rerouting power through Varen's neural link. Sweat poured down her face as she focused, her veins glowing brighter. Above, the Emperor's ship turned, energy building for another strike. Rhea yelled, ready. Elias hit the switch. A surge of white light burst upward, forming a second beacon, brighter than the first. The Emperor's aim faltered. The dreadnought shifted course, following the false signal into the upper atmosphere. Then, silence. The mech exploded, a shockwave rippling across the desert. Elias was thrown to the ground, ears ringing. Smoke filled the air. Varen collapsed beside him, her skin dimming, her breathing shallow. He's blinded, but not gone. He'll return. Elias took her hand. Then we'll be ready. In the distance, the dreadnought turned slowly, vanishing into the clouds. The war wasn't over. It had just entered its final act. And for the first time since her exile, Varen whispered not in fear, but in faith. Humans never stop fighting. The desert was quiet again, but the silence was heavy, the kind that follows before something ends. The stars above flickered faintly, their light distorted by the Dominion dreadnought drifting in the upper atmosphere like a black wound in the sky. Elias stood at the edge of the crater where the mech once stood. The ground was scorched, the air bitter with smoke. Behind him, Rhea's surviving soldiers patched what little gear remained. And in the center of it all, lying weak but alive, was Varen. Her skin no longer glowed. The energy that once pulsed through her veins had dimmed to a faint shimmer. She looked more human now, fragile, trembling, mortal. Elias knelt beside her. You should rest. You've done enough. Her lips curved into a faint smile. That's what humans always say before dying. He chuckled softly. Guess I'm still learning. Overhead, the clouds parted, and the Emperor's voice echoed across the valley, amplified through the air like thunder. Your defiance is admirable, little flame. But all fires die. A beam of light tore from the sky, striking the earth nearby. The shockwave knocked everyone off their feet. Dust and light swallowed the horizon. Rhea shouted over the comms. He's charging another strike. Full yield. We've got maybe 10 minutes. Elias looked at Varen. If he hits again, there won't be anything left. How do we stop him? Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly. The gate of origin. It's not far from here. Beneath the valley. He's trying to awaken it remotely. But if we activate it first. Rhea interrupted. You're saying open a portal in the middle of a war zone? Varen nodded. It won't destroy him. But it'll pull his energy out of the physical plane. Trap him where he can't harm either world again. Elias stood, checking his rifle. Then let's finish this. They moved fast, following Varen's guidance across the cracked valley. The ground began to hum, a deep, ancient vibration. At the center lay a circle of black stone half buried in sand, pulsing with faint light. The gate, she whispered. It reacts to life, to unity. Rhea frowned. Unity. Varen looked at Elias. Human and Dominion. Together. It only opens for both. Elias hesitated for half a breath, then extended his hand. Varen took it, her fingers cold but steady. The gate responded instantly. Rings of light spread outward, symbols igniting in a spiral. The earth trembled. Then the sky opened. The Emperor's dreadnought began descending, its engines roaring, the air warping from the energy output. His projection appeared once more, vast, furious, almost divine. You would open the gate without me? His voice thundered. You dare defy creation itself. Varen stepped forward, her voice shaking but firm. Creation doesn't belong to you. Elias raised his weapon, firing at the projection. The bullets passed harmlessly through, But the act made the Emperor turn his wrath upon him. You would stand for her, human? You would die for her. Elias smirked, blood dripping from his temple. No, I'll live for her. That's worse for you. The Emperor raised his hand. A surge of dark light struck Elias, sending him to his knees. Varen screamed, running to him. Her body glowed bright once more, her energy flaring beyond its limit. Varen, stop! Elias gasped. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. This is how it ends. She pressed her palm against his chest. Her energy flowed into him, merging the faint dominion spark with the raw force of human will. The gate blazed white, brighter than the sun. The Emperor roared, his projection fracturing. No, you can't. But it was too late. The gate expanded, light consuming the sky. The dreadnought above began to crack apart, its core imploding into itself. The sound was like a storm tearing through heaven. Elias felt her hand slipping away. Varen, she smiled through the light. You showed me what my people never could. That strength isn't in power, it's in mercy. And then, she was gone. The light vanished. The gate collapsed into silence. The dreadnought disintegrated, scattering like ash across the stars. When the dust settled, only Elias stood, alone, surrounded by ruin and dawn. The sun rose slowly, painting the desert gold. Rhea approached quietly. She's gone. He nodded, staring at the horizon. No, she's out there, somewhere in the gate, holding it shut. Rhea placed a hand on his shoulder. So what now, Captain? He looked up at the sky, the faint glimmer of broken starlight reflected in his eyes. Now we rebuild. And when the stars come again, we'll be ready, not to fight, but to prove we deserved her sacrifice. He turned away from the crater, walking into the sunrise, a soldier carrying the light of two worlds. Far above, among the shattered remnants of the Dominion fleet, a faint echo rippled through the void, a whisper in Varen's voice, carried across galaxies. For humans, for us all, keep burning. And for the first time in millennia, the universe listened.